All right, greetings, Internet Sojourners, and welcome to the second episode of MMO Talks. And today we're going to talk about monsters and memories, and specifically the mechanic of corpse runs. But before we get into the actual monsters and memories discussion, let me take you back down memory lane here, and let's talk about a situation that you've probably experienced in the past if you've played classic EverQuest. So imagine with me now that you have just gotten off of work, you finished all your responsibilities, the kids are in bed, the wife's watching TV, and you sit down at the computer and you go, all right, it's time to do a little bit of grinding on my favorite game. So you log into EverQuest, you send some tells out to your best buds, your static group, your guild mates, and you guys get together and you head down into Lower Guck to get some experience and get some loot. And when you get down there, everything's going good. You guys are camping. Maybe you camp one of those mana stones that we talked about in the last MMO Talks episode. And the experience bar is moving. You're getting loot. Everybody's having a good time, and then all of a sudden you wipe. Maybe it's a roamer that came through the camp at just the wrong time when the cleric didn't have enough mana. Maybe it was a critical lull resist that brought a bunch of extra enemies to your puller. Either way, your group wiped, and now you're all back at your bind point, and you don't have any of your items because your corpse is all the way down there at the bottom of Lower Guck. And it's pretty risky because now you don't have any of your items. You could die again on your way down there. Well, let me tell you, Monsters and Memories is going to take this mechanic and it's going to crank it up to 11. So in Monsters and Memories, not only do you leave all your items on your body, but your spells go in a spell book that also stays on your corpse. So when you pop back up at your bind point, unlike in classic EQ, where you can go and you can memorize Invis and you can memorize some buffs that help you get back to your body out of some spell book that inexplicably is still with you, even though the rest of your items are on your body, which is kind of weird. In Monsters and Memories, that spell book stays there on your body. You don't have those spells. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, MMocracy. The meta is going to be that people are going to leave spell books in the bank that have specialized tool sets, specialized spells to help you get back to your body, like Invis and buffs. And I say, yes, young Padawan, good. You are understanding what players will do. However, let me ask you, what if you were fighting in one of these zones that's out on the periphery of the world, hunting elite mobs for the best loot, for the best experience, and you are miles away from a bank? What are you going to do then? And then that poses the question, when players are out there, are they going to like suicide a body and then leave a spell book on that body just in case? Are raids going to have to have people's bodies parked outside of the raid zone so that they have spells available to them to recover from a wipe? Only time will tell, right? And those are some interesting questions for niche world cults, and I'd be curious to hear what their thoughts are on that. But at any rate, that gets to the heart of the discussion here today, which is why to have corpse runs or why not to have corpse runs. So let's start with some of the arguments in favor of completely getting rid of corpse runs. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm not going to state my opinion on this. I'm making this video just to generate discussion. So if you guys have opinions, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. But just to get into why not having corpse runs could be a good thing is mainly comes down to the number one biggest resource in life, which is time. Corpse runs are a time sink. They halt forward progress. And if you have limited time to play because of your responsibilities, corpse run could be a very devastating moment for you. So I do have a quote here from Discord user Outlaw Forever who states, as an adult with a very limited schedule, having nothing to show for a day or even weeks worth of free time is a massive concern for me. I don't mind corpse runs, but they shouldn't be so punishing you can't get your corpse. And then he goes on to say some other stuff. But that kind of gets to the heart of the issue, which is I am an adult. I have a limited time to play. I have a very demanding schedule. I have responsibilities. And a corpse run is more or less like a barrier for me to enjoy this game. One other point that I could see people making is that a corpse run is essentially a quit moment. Now, if you've ever watched popular MMO content creator Josh Strife Hayes, he describes a quit moment as a point in time where a player will say, basically, screw it, I'm logging out and I'm never logging back in. Now, niche world cults, I don't think they're necessarily worried about this because the game is so niche that virtually everybody should be expecting these corpse runs at this point. Which brings me to the next point. So, why have corpse runs? And here's where I have a quote from Monsters and Memories developer Nick, who states, "No plans to change corpse runs unless we opt to open a different rule set server down the line that will do so. But the base rule set for this will be as is." So, why do you think this is, Nick's position? Why is this Niche World Cults' position? Well, first of all, one of the points that I thought of is a death mechanic, a punishing death mechanic like a corpse run essentially punishes poor performance. And the idea behind this is that it will eventually lead to better player performance because players who have had to level all the way up from level 1 to the max level dealing with these corpse runs and these experience loss moments on death are going to eventually learn and become better players, and they'll perform better at the max level where the very hardest content should be. In addition to that, Discord user Rediker states that it can deter reckless player behavior, and it's also a tool for social interaction. And I've witnessed this firsthand on games like Project 1999, where the Dial-A-Port Guild, which is essentially a taxi service for teleporting people around the world, they'll offer free teleports for people on a corpse run. And at other times, players will give buffs to people who are on corpse runs in an attempt to help them out. And so I can see how having that death mechanic like a corpse run can help increase community collaboration and increase community cohesion as players work together to retrieve these corpses and lead to an overall better social and community experience. In addition to that, corpse runs represent the risk versus reward element of gameplay. So, more risk should naturally equal more reward. So, when you go to these more dangerous areas out on the periphery of the world, the elite zones, to get the very best loot, there should be more risk there, which then factors into the players deciding, okay, this is risky, but let's go, which then helps differentiate loot obtained from those zones, right? Because you might see that sword on the that player in the city, and you go, "Oh man, he got that from this zone. That's a very dangerous zone," and so that also kind of lends itself back to that community discussion as well. And then finally, corpse runs also in some way contribute to immersion. That deep, scary dungeon out there on the edge of the world, that abysmal place, is a lot scarier when there's a real risk to it for actually going there and dying. So it helps draw the player in. It helps make them feel more aware of their surroundings and what's going on. Because if they die there, it could be a very bad situation. They could lose their corpse potentially forever, right? So we already know Niche World Cult's position on this, and I don't think this video is going to influence them one way or another, and that's not the intent here. But I do want to hear from you guys, the players, the community, and see what you guys think. Are corpse runs a good thing for the reasons that I stated? Are there other reasons that I missed, or are corpse runs a bad thing? And what is your opinion on that? So if you've made it this far, go ahead and drop a thumbs up on the video if you'd like. That'll really help me out, and then be sure to leave a comment below as far as your thoughts on corpse runs. This is the MMocracy, and I want to encourage you all to stay classic and have a great rest of your day.